So this is a quick tutorial on the new features of the 0.3 version of the OpenStudio Google SketchUp plugin. You're seeing the new toolbar up here, a lot of new icons, a lot of the same functionality, but I'm going to highlight some of the additional functionality. Down here you're seeing a model created in the old 1.05 version of the SketchUp plugin. And what I wanted to highlight here is looking from this perimeter zone into the core zone that you don't see through. Now, what we're seeing, all of our surfaces are heat transfer surfaces that represent heat boundaries. We think of those as walls, and in some cases, like on the exterior, that is a physical wall and the roof is a physical roof, but these walls here that are interior surfaces, in this case, just are an air wall or an imaginary zone boundary that doesn't represent a physical wall in the building, and we don't differentiate the way those look from the physical walls, which makes this tough to use as a design tool. And there's some other benefits once we address that. So what I want to check here, right now those are still outdoor boundary conditions, but if I run surface matching, now they are interior. Switch my rendering mode back, I still can't see through, but what I need to do is go to my default constructions, now pick interior walls, change their construction to air wall, apply that to the model, and I now have see-through walls. So I can see through just as I would in real life. We use a light checkerboard pattern instead of making them clear so that you can see them so that they're selectable. But now we can see through the building, and more importantly, or as importantly, if we use Radiance to do daylighting, we can tell Radiance to ignore those air walls and let light pass from the exterior of the building through to the core zone. Which will help a lot. Now, so we've now allowed you to take physical zone boundaries that don't represent physical walls and show that, but there's still one more piece missing. We have physical walls in this building that are not zone boundaries, and we now have a new tool to allow those to be put in, again as a design tool, and also to allow daylighting analysis to interact with the real geometry of the building. These interior partitions will get constructions just like the heat transfer surfaces, because those constructions will be used so that Radiance or other programs will know how light interacts with them. And as I'll show you in a minute, there's an additional byproduct, positive byproduct of having construction. So let's see, we're just going to draw what looks like a cubicle. It's not going to be really exciting, but it shows the idea. So I now have a cubicle sitting all by itself in this building. I'm going to get rid of my section now because I don't, well, we'll leave it there for a minute. I'm actually going to hide. I'm trying to hide the section cut, and I forgot my shortcut, but let's go to hide the section plane, and this will look a little nicer. So we have a green color for these. There is a front and a back, which have different materials applied depending upon what your construction. They could be drywall and drywall. It could be, you know, anything you want. So when I pick one of these surfaces and look at it in the object information window, it has a construction, it has a name. What we can do now is convert this to an internal mass. And what that'll do is pass not the physical geometry, but an internal mass represented by that to Energy Plus for the simulation. And so just as a physical wall somewhere else that is a boundary, a zone boundary can store energy, internal mass in a zone can store energy as well. And this brings up another good point here. I'm going to delete my section cut so we can see our whole building again. Let's turn it back on. So we've now added in objects here that are beyond what Energy Plus can store in an IDF file. So in the new version of the plugin, you can export to an IDF or import an IDF. But our save format is now an OpenStudio model. So when you go to save here, my little pop-up should come up here, but it was already saved. Anyway, so when you go to save as, OSM is the new format for OpenStudio model, and that will allow you to reopen this and still see your interior partitions. If you had instead exported as an IDF and re-import it, that internal mass object will still be around, but you wouldn't be able to see it or select it, and then the geometry wouldn't be there. So the OSM will be the format of choice to use for that.